China is building an airport out at the sea. It will sit on a massive man-made island, one of the largest ever constructed. To build it, engineers have literally been moving mountains. They've been smashing them up into earth and rubble, then pouring them into the sea. It's impressive, but also controversial, especially when you consider what's happening to Japan's Kansai airport, which is sinking right now. And some people even say it's illegal. Hey, my name is Luis, and today we'll dive into the story behind Dalian Jinzhouwan Airport, China's attempt to build an airport out in the open waters. If you're not from China, you might not have heard of Dalian. It's right at the tip of the Liaodong Peninsula, a little to the east of Beijing. The city is a major transport hub, with great access to Japan and Korea. It's home to more than 7.4 million people, about the same as the Toronto and Madrid metro regions. Up close, the city's geography is pretty interesting. It's boxed in by mountains to the north and south, and ocean to the east and west. In other words, space is tight here. So if you wanted to find room for something like a new airport, you'd need to get creative. This is the city's current airport. 50 years ago, when it first ran civil flights, it only served a couple of thousand passengers every year. This is what the terminal looked like then. Apparently, it was built on a swamp. Its nickname was Chao Shuizi, or Stinky Water, which later became Zhou Shuizi, the airport's modern name. The airport was expanded and modernized in 1984, then a couple more times in the 1990s and again in 2005. These expansions upped its capacity from just a couple of thousands to almost 20 million passengers in 2025. That might sound like a lot, but to give you some context, Shanghai Pudong, the busiest airport in China, handled 84 million passengers last year. In fact, Dalian's Zhou Shuizi Airport isn't even in the top 20 airports in China in terms of passengers. Because of this, Dalian would love to expand its airport even further. For example, they'd like another runway, because at the moment they only have one. But there's a problem. At this point, there really isn't space to expand this airport any further. Just take a look here. This is what the surrounding area looks like. Yeah, basically no space at all. So for Dalian to increase capacity, it needs to build a new airport somewhere else. And that's easier said than done. As we said, Dalian is boxed in by mountains and ocean. You definitely can't build an airport on a mountain. But can you build one on the ocean? Maybe. This is Kansai International Airport. It isn't in China. Instead, this airport is off the coast of Osaka, Japan. This isn't a normal airport. It's sitting on a man-made island, completed in the early 90s at an initial cost of $14 billion. At the time, that made it the most expensive civil engineering project ever. Obviously, building it wasn't easy. And the aim of the game was stability. The last thing they wanted was a man-made island which collapsed or sank into the sea. They started by building a perimeter seawall, using 48,000 massive concrete blocks. Next, they stabilized the seabed inside the perimeter. They did this by driving 1.2 million tubes into the floor and filling each tube with sand. The sand drove out moisture from the surrounding seabed, allowing it to settle and solidify. The less moisture, the less chance that the island would sink, like drying out mud to turn it into solid ground. After that, they started building the island. They poured in 178 million cubic tons of earth, then stabilized that with 900 columns of hydraulic jacks. Once all this was done, they built an airport on top and a bridge to connect it to the mainland. Kansai was the world's very first artificial island airport. In the years since, a few others followed suit. Hong Kong International is another big one, for example. And in 2005, Dalian drew up plans for an island airport too. They thought, when you need a new airport but don't have space, just build a new piece of land. They decided to put it right here, in the water of Jinzhou Bay. The plan was big and ambitious. At 20 square kilometers, Dalian's island would be almost as large as Kansai International and Hong Kong International combined. On top of this island, a massive new airport with 4 times the capacity of Dalian's original airport in Zhou Shuizi. Building something like this is never easy. But the city of Dalian did have experience in land reclamation already. In the 1990s, they built Shanghai Square. At just over 1 million square meters, it's the largest city square in the world. This area also used to be open water, until Dalian reclaimed the land. And projects like this gave them the confidence they could just do this for an airport as well. In 2011, their plan was put into action, but it didn't take long for this project to run into trouble. Just like the airport in Kansai, Dalian started with a seawall. This wall was meant to outline the island's 19-kilometer perimeter. Trucks brought rocks from the mountains and dumped them into the water. Then, 2 years in 2013, a story hit the news. A team of journalists had started digging around. They found out that this project didn't even have any proper permits. Without permits, Dalian's island airport was outright illegal and dangerous. As well as skipping on permits, the project had also rushed important safety checks. On top of that, the project didn't have environmental approval either. Artificial islands have a massive impact on ecosystems. The machinery is noisy, which stresses wildlife. All the work kicks up sediment, which lowers water visibility. And the new island disrupts currents, blocks the swim routes of animals. Actually, Dalian's airport was in an area of ocean which was meant to be a protected reserve for Chinese spotted seals. Dalian Airport quickly denied all these different accusations. They said that the project had completed all the necessary procedures. But all this press wasn't a very good look. Work slowed down. Then in 2016, the project seemed to stall completely. There wasn't any official announcement. But if you look at historical satellite images, you can see that the project came to a sudden stop. The seawall appeared to be finished, but there wasn't any sign of starting the next steps, like stabilizing the seabed or filling the area with earth-fill material. Nothing really changed for the next few years. Then in 2022, something happened. In China, the ruling Communist Party holds a congress every 5 years. At this congress, leaders set the country's direction and discuss their economic strategy. There was one of these congresses in 2022, and the subject of airports was discussed. They predicted that demand for Chinese air travel would massively increase in the next few decades. That meant they'd need new airports, and the Dalian project came up. Then and there, the government decided to fast-track this island airport. It would now officially enter a phase of accelerated construction. And just like that, everything started moving again. Nearly 1,000 workers descended on the site. Some of them worked days, others worked nights. Together, they made sure that the site was operational for 24 hours every day. At its peak, the project had 20 engineering vessels out at sea and more than 1,000 machines working away on the land. Their methods were similar to the ones used at Kansai more than 20 years earlier. But Dalian innovated too. For example, at Kansai, the seabed was drained by inserting pipes full of sand, which drew moisture from the surrounding earth. But at Dalian, these pipes were accompanied by ultra-high vacuums, which helped the sand to draw in more moisture. This made the seabed extra stable. With less moisture in the earth, the ground is less likely to sink. It's like drying out mud to turn it into solid ground. The work scale was also monstrous. To build this 20 square kilometer island, engineers had to bring in more than 280 million cubic meters of earth. To put that into perspective, if you took all that earth and built a wall with it, 7 meters tall and 1 meter wide, that wall would be long enough to wrap around the whole world. After filling the island with all that earth, the material was compacted using heavy 90-ton hammers. As a major milestone, this island was officially finished in 2025. Despite all those early controversies, being able to build a man-made island on this scale is pretty impressive. It's probably the third largest in the world. And yet, this island was only stage 1 of a massive Chinese project. Stage 2, they need to put an airport on top. And that work is already underway. Dalian has decided to build this airport in 2 parts. First of all, they'll build 2 parallel runways running north and south, and this 500 square meter terminal building. That one will be able to meet the needs of 43 million passengers. That's twice as many as the current airport in Zhou. A sea bridge will also need to be built, connecting the airport island to the mainland, probably with some kind of metro system to take people quickly back and forth. Originally, this work was meant to be already finished by 2025, but that was before those project delays we've talked about. Now, the goal is to have flights running in and out of the airport by 2035. After that, they'll add a second part to the airport, meaning another 2 runways and a terminal expansion, which will boost the airport's capacity to 80 million passengers by 2050. That wouldn't make it the largest in China, but it wouldn't be too far off either. It's not just about passengers though. This airport will also have a huge capacity for cargo, 550 tons of it every year. This could boost the region's economy, opening the door to increased trade with countries like Japan and South Korea. So far, so good, but there's a big question mark hanging over it. When Kansai International was built, the man-made island was meant to hold firm for 50 years. But the island started sinking immediately, at a rate of 50 centimeters every year. Engineers then managed to slow this down to 6 centimeters every year. But it's an ongoing problem. The island needs to be constantly monitored and stabilized. There are other threats too, like storm surges, which have occasionally flooded the airport. In 2018, a storm smashed a ship into the bridge linking Kansai to the mainland. No one was hurt, but 3,000 passengers were briefly stranded on the island. Engineers at Dalian are hoping that their island will be more stable than the one at Kansai as a result of the more advanced techniques which they use to reclaim the land. But the ground is still likely to settle over time, putting pressure on runways and terminals. Maintaining the island will be an ongoing process, and this maintenance won't be cheap. The predicted cost of this entire project is $4.3 billion. At first, this number sounded pretty low to me, but that only covers construction, not any long-term maintenance. And according to those investigative journalists, the ones who challenged this project in 2013, not only are offshore airports extremely expensive to build, about 10 times the cost of inland airports, but if future maintenance and repairs are included, their overall cost could even reach 20 times that of a conventional airport. If those journalists are right, 2 questions remain. Will it be stable enough, and is Dalian Airport really worth it? What's your take on that? Would be interesting to hear, so let me know down below. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to give you a quick look behind the scenes. We're currently working on a video where I visited a major tunneling project in Europe. It was an amazing experience, and the first time we did something like that. Still working on the edit, but it'll probably come out in about a month. Alright, thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.